Hi everyone, in our last video we went up till the point where the unstable 6C carbon kind of breaks down into the G3P molecule. And to kind of continue on from that, let's kind of recap the fact that up until this point, this step of the Calvin cycle, wherein RUBP combines bicarboxylation with CO2, becomes unstable 6C intermediate molecule and kind of breaks down to G3P. This entire step is really catalyzed by the enzyme that's called Rubisco, which is also known as RUBP enzyme, which is a type of carboxylase enzyme. Now, to continue on from that, what happens next is the G3P molecule, also known as the glycerate 3-phosphate molecule, converts itself into the triose phosphate molecule, also known as TP. And one thing to note is that both of them are 3-carbon molecules. And this conversion process essentially requires a lot of energy from hydrolysis of ATP and also oxidation of NADPH and hydrogen ions into NADP+. Now, these are both things that we have kind of learned in some of our previous videos. We learned that ATP is an energy storage molecule because as we undergo the process of hydrolysis, wherein we convert this to ADP, and inorganic phosphate, which is kind of a phosphate molecule that just hangs around on its own, we are going to release energy. So we're going to retrieve energy from this process. Reduced hydrogen carriers, as you may know, when it undergoes the process of oxidation, it's going to release energy. That's why both the ATP and NADPH, which is a reduced type of reduced hydrogen carrier, are both crucial molecules in terms of storing energy. And via these processes, we are going to get energy. Now, this energy, as I mentioned, is used in order to turn and convert this G3P into a TP. And by the way, also, you may wonder what the exact difference between a G3P molecule and a TP molecule is, especially because both of the molecules are kind of like 3C molecules. The difference is that the G3P molecule, TP is essentially the G3P molecule plus 2 hydrogen and 2 electrons, which were produced by the oxidation of the reduced hydrogen carrier NADPH. So there's that. Now, as we go on to the stage of having the triose phosphate or the TP, this TP is either used in order to regenerate the RUBP, kind of returning to the first step of this stage, or it kind of really leaves the cycle entirely and it joins up with another TP molecule in order to form a molecule of glucose. And you can kind of really see that visually because, well, TP, it's represented by 3 carbons, and add 3 to 3, you're going to have 6, which is the number of carbons that are in glucose. And that is what happens. And in order to produce 1 molecule of glucose, this entire cycle of the Calvin cycle needs to be repeated 6 times. So there needs to be 6 turns of the Calvin cycle for every single 1 molecule of glucose. Alright, that is it, and we've covered the Calvin cycle entirely.